When Hollywood's fiercest star collides with TV's boldest, host the interview that rocked the world. Hold on to your seats because you're about to witness the most electrifying celebrity face-off ever caught on live TV. Imagine Tom Cruise, the master of unshakable charm, walking into a fiery arena of The View only to meet Joy Behar, a fearless host armed with cutting questions and no tolerance for evasion. What began as a standard promo for Mission Impossible exploded into a blazing showdown that left producers panicking, audiences speechless, and social media on fire. This wasn't just a clash of titans. It was a seismic event that redefined celebrity interviews. Before we jump into this wild tale, smash that subscribe button and tell me in the comments what you think pushed Tom to the brink. Let's dive into the mayhem. The morning sun bathed Manhattan in a golden glow as the streets outside the View studios hummed with energy. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with pre-show chaos. Makeup artists worked their magic, crew members scurried with clipboards, and producers shouted last-minute orders. Tom Cruise arrived early, as always, commanding the room like a bolt of lightning. His dazzling smile and firm handshakes won over everyone from sound techs to interns. He was there to hype the latest Mission Impossible film, a heart-pounding blockbuster filled with his trademark death-defying stunts. The crew was abuzz trading stories about Tom's relentless work ethic and his knack for making everyone feel like a friend. Whoopi Goldberg, the seasoned heart of The View, greeted Tom during the pre-show huddle with her warm, welcoming vibe. "Tom, thanks for coming. We're so excited to chat about the new film," she said, her voice wrapping him in comfort. Tom flashed his iconic grin. "Whoopi, it's always a thrill to be here with you all. The View is one of my favorite spots," he replied, his energy contagious. His publicist nearby nodded with approval, certain this would be another flawless appearance. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. Sarah Haynes, bursting with her signature enthusiasm, couldn't wait to dig in. "Tom, I need to know what's going through your mind when you're hanging off a skyscraper or racing a motorcycle through a city. Are you ever scared?" Tom's eyes lit up with passion as he leaned in. "Sarah, that's the rush. It's about giving the audience something real, something raw. No green screens, no stunt doubles. Just me pushing the limits to tell a story that hits hard." As words carried the weight of a man obsessed with his craft, and the crew nodded, captivated by his fire. Sonny Hoskins, a thoughtful co-host, chimed in from across the room. "That commitment really comes through, Tom. You've been at this for decades, and the energy never fades." Tom's smile grew. "Thanks, Sonny. When you love what you do, when you're telling stories that matter, the fire just keeps burning. Every project feels like my first." His voice had a magnetic pull, making every word feel like a rallying cry. Alyssa Farrah Griffin, the newest panelist, but already a sharp voice, leaned in with curiosity. "Tom, you've worked with giants like Spielberg and McQuarrie. How do you approach those partnerships?" Tom dove into a detailed breakdown of his creative process, his respect for filmmaking shining as he spoke of directors with reverence. But one co-host stayed eerily quiet. Joy Behar sat at her spot, her lips curled into a sly, knowing smile that hinted at trouble brewing. While her colleagues tossed easy questions, Joy was clearly waiting for the perfect moment to drop a bombshell. Her eyes gleamed with the confidence of a veteran interviewer, ready to turn a friendly chat into a headline-grabbing spectacle. The iconic View theme music blared, and the cameras rolled. The audience roared as Tom waved from the guest chair, looking every bit the polished superstar, relaxed, confident, and ready for what he thought would be a routine promo segment. Whoopi kicked things off with her classic flair. "Welcome back to View." And Whoopi Goldberg. "And today we're joined by Tom Cruise, star of the new Mission Impossible film. Tom, thanks for being here." Tom leaned forward, a smile lighting up the studio. "My pleasure, Whoopi. Great to be with all of you." The interview started like clockwork. Whoopi asked about the film's exotic locations, complex plot, and Tom's intense preparation. He answered with his usual polish, sharing behind-the-scenes details that had the audience hooked. "This Mission Impossible pushed us to new heights," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. "There's this wild motorcycle chase through Rome, months of planning, training with pro racers, working with local authorities. It's all about giving the audience something they can feel deep down." Sarah jumped in, her eyes wide with awe. "And you did all those stunts yourself?" Tom nodded, his grin both boyish and fierce. "Every single one. I trained for weeks with top racers to master high-speed maneuvers. Audiences can tell the difference between real action and CGI. They deserve the real thing." The crowd cheered, and the cohorts nodded, clearly impressed. The conversation flowed smoothly with Tom in his element, breaking down the technical wizardry of his stunts and his unwavering commitment to authenticity. But then, like a thundercloud sweeping over a clear sky, Joy Behar decided to shake things up. "Tom," she said, her voice cutting through the warm vibe like a blade, I have to ask about something that's been on everyone's mind in the studio when Silent Tom's smile flickered for a moment, though he quickly recovered, leaning back with a cautious, "Sure, Joy, what's on your mind?" Well, Joy continued, her tone sharpening. "With every word you talk a lot about authenticity. But isn't there some contradiction in that, given your very public connection to Scientology?" The air shifted instantly, as if all the warmth had been sucked out. The audience froze, sensing the interview had just veered into dangerous territory. Tom's posture stiffened, though his voice stayed steady. "I'm not sure what you mean by contradiction, Joy," he said, his smile now a tight, controlled line. Joy leaned forward, her eyes locked on him like a predator. "Come on, Tom, you're all about giving audiences the real you. But Scientology is a controversial group with some serious issues. Don't your fans deserve to know how much of your image is tied to that?" Whoopi, sensing the storm brewing, tried to step in. Joy, "Maybe we should," but Tom raised a hand, his intensity now razor focused. "No, it's okay, Whoopi, I'm happy to address this." He turned back to Joy, his voice calm, but edged with steel. "Joy, I think you're working from some wrong ideas about my faith. Scientology has been a deeply positive force in my life, and I'm proud to be part of." Joy's smile didn't waver, but her tone grew sharper. "Positive force, Tom. There are documented cases of families split apart, former members alleging abuse, financial exploitation. How do you justify being the face of that?" The other cohorts exchanged nervous glances. Sarah tried to pivot with a lighter question, but Joy was relentless, her journalistic instincts in full force. "I think you need to check your sources, Joy." Tom shot back, his voice still controlled, but with a clear bite. "What you're describing sounds like tabloid nonsense, not facts." Joy's eyebrows shot up. "Tabloid nonsense, Tom. These are testimonies from real people, court cases, investigations. This isn't gossip, it's journalism." The tension in the studio was thick enough to choke on. Tom's jaw tightened, his hands gripping the arms of his chair so hard his knuckles paled. "Joy, what you're missing," he said, his voice rising with that signature intensity, "is that you're attacking something that's transformed my life for the better. You're attacking my faith, my personal journey." Joy didn't flinch. "I'm not attacking your faith, Tom. I'm asking questions about a group with documented history of controversy. Surely you can see why people are concerned about what." Tom's voice was louder. Now his composure started to crack. "Concern about people finding spiritual meaning. Concern about individuals taking control of their lives." Alyssa, the diplomat of the group, tried to steer things back to safety. "Tom, maybe we could talk about how your beliefs shape your acting." But Tom was locked in his focus entirely on Joy. "No, Alyssa, I think Joy has something to say, and she should say it." "Go ahead, Joy, what's your point?" Joy's smile was sharp enough to slice through stone. "My point, Tom, is that you have a huge platform. Young people look up to you. When you champion a group accused of destroying families, that's a responsibility you can't dodge." Tom's response was swift and fierce. "Accused by whom? Former members kicked out for their own ethical failures. Those claims have been debunked over and over." Joy wasn't backing down. "Debunked by Scientology itself, Tom. That's like letting a company investigate itself and expecting the truth." Whoopi, her years of moderating kicking, and tried to take control. "Okay, let's take a breath, everyone. Tom, maybe we can talk about your upcoming projects." But Tom was beyond redirection, his body language now aggressive, leaning forward with sharp, precise gestures. "Whoopi, I appreciate you, but your co-host has made serious accusations that deserve a response." Joy jumped in, her voice cutting like a knife. "They're not accusations, Tom. They're questions any reasonable person would ask about a group with Scientology's history." Tom's voice dripped with disbelief. "Joy, what do you know about Scientology's history? Have you studied it? Read the materials, talk to current members?" Joy didn't miss a beat. "I've read the investigative reports, watched the documentaries, listened to the testimonies of people who say they were hurt." Tom's laugh was sharp and bitter. "Documentaries by whom? Testimonies from bitter ex-members with grudges. You're buying into biased stories with clear agenda." Sarah, visibly shaken, tried to lighten the mood. "Tom, maybe we could share the positive side of your spiritual journey." But Tom was in full battle mode now. "Sarah, I'd love to, but it's hard when someone's spreading misinformation and bias." Joy's voice rose to match his misinformation. "Tom, are you saying all the former members, journalists, and court cases are lying?" Tom's eyes blazed, him saying you need to look at the source. People who leave under bad circumstances might have motives beyond truth. Sunny, drawing on her legal background, tried to find common ground. "Tom, when multiple sources tell similar stories, court cases, respected journalists, it raises questions worth exploring." Tom's response was biting. "Sunny, you're a lawyer. Would you convict someone based on disgruntled exemplifies with financial incentives to lie?" Sunny pressed gently. "But when there's a pattern of allegations, doesn't that suggest something worth examining?" Tom's Laugh was cold from the same tabloid press that's been after me. For decades, the same media that thrives on drama joy pounced these aren't tabloids, Tom. We're talking legitimate news outlets, documentary filmmakers, journalists. With proven records, Tom's voice turned mocking the same people who spread lies about my personal life for years. Now they're suddenly credible. When it comes to my faith, the audience was silent. Every eye glued to the drama. Even the crew had stopped moving, transfixed by the battle. Unfolding on set, Tom Joy set her tone, shifting to deadly. Serious, I'm not attacking you personally, but when you're as big as you are, people will question the groups you support. Tom's voice was steady. But fierce, I'm happy to answer real questions, Joy. But what you're doing isn't questioning. It's accusing, it's spreading bias. Joy's eyes flared. And help me understand, Tom. Explain how a group accused of breaking up families investigated by law enforcement deserves your unwavering support. Tom's response was like a thunderbolt. Because I've seen the good it does, Joy. I've lived it. I've watched people change their lives through Scientology's teachings. Joy didn't back down. And what about the people who say they were hurt, the families torn apart, the financial exploitation? Tom's voice took on a dangerous edge. I don't dismiss real concerns, but I also don't accept character attacks posing as journalism. The word attacks landed like a bomb. Joy's face hardened. Tom, asking about a controversial group isn't an attack. It's accountability. Tom's eyes narrowed, his voice low. In menacing accountability, Joy, I face scrutiny. My whole career, what I won't tolerate is dishonesty dressed up as journalism. Joy fired back. Dishonesty. Everything I've mentioned is verifiable. Court records, testimonies, reports. How is that dishonest? Tom leaned forward, his intensity now chilling. Because you're picking the most sensational claims and ignoring the positive experiences of thousands. That's yellow journalism at its worst. Whoopi made one last desperate attempt to steer the ship. Okay, let's hit pause, Tom. Let's talk about your film. But Tom was locked, his focus solely on Joy. No, Whoopi. We're right where Joy wants to be. This isn't about my movie. It's about her agenda against my faith. Agenda? Joy's laugh was sharp enough to cut through steel. Tom, I don't have an agenda. I have a job. When a celebrity promotes a controversial group, it's my duty to ask tough questions. Tom's voice was stunned. Your job, Joy, your job is entertainment, not ambushing guests with character attacks. Joy stood slightly, her voice booming. Character attacks. Asking about your public affiliations isn't an attack. It's accountability. The studio was a pressure cooker ready to burst. Tom's face was a mask of barely contained rage, his voice quiet but dripping with menace. Joy, you didn't invite me here for a conversation. You invited me for an inquisition. The word inquisition hung in the air, and the audience gasped. Joy's eyes flashed with defiance. An inquisition, Tom. If you can't handle scrutiny, maybe you shouldn't be so vocal about Scientology. That was a breaking point. Tom's entire demeanor shifted, his body radiating a terrifying intensity. Can't handle scrutiny, he said, his voice a low growl. Joy, I face more scrutiny than you could imagine. What I want stand for is a setup disguised as an interview. The studio fell into a stunned silence. Every eye locked on the two combatants. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, whispering frantically into headsets. But there was no stopping this disaster. Joy, undeterred, leaned in closer. A setup, Tom. You're a public figure tied to a controversial group. These questions are part of the deal. Tom's response was a verbal hammer. Part of the deal. Joy, you've been gunning for me. From a moment, I sat down. This isn't journalism. It's a witch hunt. The audience gasped again. And even Whoopi looked shell-shocked. The other cohort sat frozen, unsure how to intervene in a battle that spiraled beyond control. For the next several minutes, the confrontation roared on each side, digging in deeper. Tom accused Joy of bias and sensationalism, while Joy doubled down, citing documented evidence and refusing to yield. The exchange was less an interview and more a verbal cage fight, with neither willing to back down. The audience, initially stunned, began to murmur, some cheering Joy's tenacity, others shocked by Tom's ferocity. Social media erupted as clips of the interview leaked online, hashtags like Tom Shot and View Showdown trending within minutes. Behind the scenes, producers were in full panic mode, torn between letting the like, comment, share, subscribe.